Good day, you're watching a special news bulletin from Kazakhstan. We continue to sum up the results of the OSCE summit in Astana. I'm Marina Kim, and these are the top stories. The summit of the OSCE ends with the adoption of a formal Astana declaration. Website CA News posted an official statement from Uzbekistan which requests to remove the country from the final declaration of the summit. Kazakh internet community calls the Astana summit pretentious, while spending the money on its organization unreasonable. On Friday, the president of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev, congratulated citizens of the country with the successful completion of the OSCE summit in Astana. On the same day, the head of state held a meeting on the results of the event. In total, the summit cost the country 8 million euros, with another 3 paid by the OSCE member states. The heavily promoted political forum ended more than 12 hours behind the schedule, with the Astana declaration adopted by around midnight on December 2nd. The delay was explained by the long time it took participants to reach a consensus due to the uncompromising stances of Russia, Georgia and Armenia. In the end, 11 years after the summit in Istanbul, the Astana Declaration became only a formal document with no action plan. The closing of the conference was attended by just one president, the host Nursultan Nazarbayev, with the rest of the states represented by high-ranked officials.
Summit participants could not agree on the final draft of the declaration for almost 10 hours. Almost all speakers noted that despite the wishes of the parties, they failed to make decisions almost on all major issues, which essentially served as the sole reason for their gathering in Astana. Said issues included regional conflicts in Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, Nagorno-Karabakh and the Russian-Georgian confrontation. The disappointment stemming from the sheer volume of disagreements even affected the traditional words of gratitude towards the host, and this even had to be addressed in the final statement. We share the frustration expressed by many that we were unable to solve some of the important issues on the agenda, including the unresolved conflicts. At the same time, based on this OSCE summit at the highest level, we are confident that the declaration, which reaffirms the norms, principles and commitments behind our organization, became an important step forward. Many observers noted the dissatisfaction with the Astana Declaration. Representatives of the EU, heads of delegations from Canada, Moldova, Romania, USA, Russia, Czech Republic and other countries anonymously agreed that the document needs additional work, since it doesn't provide adequate solutions to protracted conflicts. Some representatives of European democracies even found the Astana Declaration not corresponding with the OSCE principles in several points of the document. Members of the Canadian delegation said they expected more from the 2-day-long summit.
While it reaffirms that we are still on the same page when it comes to our shared values, principles, and OSCE commitments, Canada came to this summit expecting more. We regret that OSCE participating states were not able to reach consensus over the important issue of protracted conflicts in our region.
Nursultan Nazarbayev's closing press conference after the OSCE summit was delayed since the Astana Declaration was heavily edited several times. In the early hours on Friday, when reporters were ready to call the summit a failure, the seemingly somber President Nazarbayev announced the compromise was found after all, and the resolution was signed by all representatives of the organization's member states.
The summit failed to find solutions to any significant political issue. The forum's organizers planned to summarize the event by midday on the 2nd of December, but the press conference of the head of state was delayed repeatedly. Representatives of the OSCE and Foreign Ministry kept silent, which made experts guess the conference participants failed to reach an agreement. Finally, the visibly tired and annoyed president of Kazakhstan declared the final declaration signed. At that moment, it became clear that Astana summit is the personal summit of Nazarbayev. Kazakhstan, which never followed OSCE principles prior and during its chairmanship year, didn't manage to use said principles in uniting all event participants. The fact I'm speaking to you at 1 o'clock in the morning must prove to you that it wasn't easy at all to achieve consensus on all items on the agenda. There were different opinions and wishes. The long-awaited press conference, delayed for more than 12 hours, lasted barely a half an hour. Unfortunately, everything was predetermined even here, as reporters asked only convenient questions. However, the moment's time limit expired. Nazarbayev tried to show his good mood and allowed a couple of additional questions. I won't listen to my press secretary. Answering the last question, Nazarbayev described Astana as his personal achievement. In addition, the leader of nations said that despite the hard work on the adaptation of the declaration, he found time to dine with the Italian Prime Silvio Berlusconi in the most luxurious restaurant of the city. This is where he bragged about the capital sights. Together with Berlusconi, we dined at the height of the rotating restaurant Pekin Palace. We sat there looking at the city from the top, and that is when he said that no one in the world has done something like that in 10 years. Just over a day passed since the adoption of the final resolution, but independent experts already say the Astana Declaration is nowhere near the Helsinki Agreement. The $11 million spent on the summit produced a simple official document, reaffirming the basic principles of the organization and a common desire to move towards better security.
For some reason, the Uzbek delegation was not shown expressing their opinion on the final Astana Declaration during the broadcast of the document signing. This prompted some journalists to doubt that the closing ceremony was shown live. By Friday noon, Uzbek delegation made an official statement on the matter.
In the statement quoted by the information agency CA News, Uzbek side says it opposed the adoption of the final declaration since many of the proposed initiatives have not been previously agreed upon by the participating parties. President of Uzbekistan Islam Karimov declined the invitation to participate in the summit, which Uzbek media described as a compelling stand of the head of state. Instead, official Tashkent was represented by its foreign affairs minister, who criticized the OSCE chair for its inaction during the Osh clashes in Kyrgyzstan in the summer of this year. Astana insists that the document was signed by all member states. Russia, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan and Moldova didn't reject the document since all conflicting issues over Georgian-Ossetia relations, Nagorno-Karabakh and Transnistria were not included in the text of the final declaration of Astana OSCE summit. No one opposed the declaration, which means that a consensus was reached. All 56 countries have supported and jointly adopted this declaration.
By the second day of the summit, some foreign reporters said the Astana Forum only confirmed the existence of numerous unresolved inconsistencies and disagreements within the organization. While waiting for the culmination of the event, journalists shared their opinions and noted that some very serious and specific issues raised at the forum were addressed with the way-to-wake language.
During the second day of the summit, the press center looked like a waiting room. Politicians seemed to be on the fence. They spoke of in statements rather than making proposals on how to solve problems within the OSCE. Hotspots remained the burning issue, including Ossetia, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan and Nagorno-Karabakh. They're spoken of as problems that need to be solved peacefully through negotiations. But how to start the talks when the parties have nothing in common? The summit is a failure in a political sense. People from different countries expected more for both the Russian-Georgian and Azerbaijani-Armenian relations. Firuza Haydarova says with regret that bilateral meetings on key issues were not even planned. Everyone seemed to have their own summit, while a common table is not a sufficient condition for the emergence of at least some unity. Haydarova's colleague from Armenia, Tatevik Shagunyan, agrees. For instance, the OSCE generously allows the sides of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict to deal with the situation on their own. It is more a question of the parties' positions, in Azerbaijan in particular. The OSCE didn't take over the mission to neutralize the military aggression. The Astana commemorative declaration quite obviously cannot correspond to the volume of promotion invested in it by the Kazakh authorities. This is a stark difference to the document signed in Helsinki in 1972, which actually defined the new European order. Also, a declaration is too big a word. More accurately, the resolution is just a set of recommendations. Perhaps this declaration will not be binding, but more advisory in nature. In the end, the declaration is accepted not to offend any of the parties. There is no other way. The skepticism towards the summit's results was quite evident. There were visibly fewer reporters in the press center already by the second day of the event, as many left Astana together with national delegations.
If only for a day, the political gathering in Astana did make it to the headlines of publications around the globe. This was one of the very few accomplished missions of the Kazakh Foreign Ministry during the event. However, the reaction of the media to the OSCE summit was mixed at best.
1,500 journalists accredited for the OSCE summit are leaving Astana. In contrast to the Kazakh state media, all of them have their own opinions on the event. Most reporters criticize the final declaration, calling it nominal. Participants of the OSCE summit in Astana, which was to be a milestone in the history of the organization, managed to save it from a total failure at the last moment. Austrian The Press noted that Kazakhstan was expecting to gain world recognition from hosting the OSCE summit, while French Le Figaro says Western leaders accepted the chairmanship lured by the Kazakh oil reserves and uranium deposits. This is the result of intensive lobbying designed to make everyone forget about Kazakhstan's violations of human rights in order to emphasize its political stability and enormous economic potential. The Voice of America quotes experts, including Arkady Dubnov, who feels the West was always skeptical about Kazakhstan's chairmanship in the OSCE. The adopted document simply forms the general opinion of the organization's member states, which doesn't entail any consequences. It just reaffirms or somewhat adds a few basic principles adopted back in 1975 in Helsinki. From the very start of the summit, even Kazakh authorities openly said the OSCE summit in Kazakhstan will become a grand promotion campaign for the young capital of the country, although now the media says this was not the best experience.
The press also discusses the effects WikiLeaks scandal had on the summit. After all, the event coincided with the initial information dump, which featured names of many officials arrived in Astana, as well as the leadership of the host country itself. Some reporters believe the release of the secret communications certainly affected the moods of some of the guests, especially Russian President Dmitry Medvedev.
The international non-profit media organization WikiLeaks was forced to change its web address. From now on, the US cables are available through the Swiss domain zone. Just recently, the US State Secretary Hillary Clinton condemned the release of the secret information by the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, now wanted by Interpol for unrelated crimes. So I believe that this was a very irresponsible, thoughtless act that put at risk the lives of innocent people all over the world. Many of the people described in the cables visited Astana as guests during the OSCE summit, including Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi and Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. Both received less than flattering reviews. The publication of secret communication has seriously diminished the political comfort before the event. The info dump on the WikiLeaks has seriously limited many presidents, but especially Medvedev. Kazakh political elite were also mentioned in the leaks. Karim Asimov didn't even try to deny it, saying that he does visit nightclubs with his wife from time to time. Nazarbayev's son-in-law and chairman of the National Wealth Fund, Samru Kazana Timur Kulibayev, was exposed in bribery scandal. WikiLeaks quoted the talk of the US ambassador in Kazakhstan, Richard Holland, and the former vice president of Kazmunaygas, Maksat Itenov. Some of the things said indirectly confirmed the information provided by the exiled banker Mukhtar Ablazov. In spring, he published a number of documents incriminating Kulibayev of taking bribes from Chinese companies in exchange for oil contracts. Decisions over big players are made by the president personally. So far, nothing indicates that Timur Kulibayev is not loyal to President Nazarbayev, who will leave the control over the oil and gas sector only in the hands of a proven man. Expert Kaznachev believes that Holland's statements are not enough to bring criminal charges against Kulibayev, although this could be done from abroad. This is where such information could be used.